Bible in a year, day 13, Genesis 17 through 20. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said, I am God Almighty. Walk in my presence and be blameless. Between you and me I will establish my covenant, and I will multiply you exceedingly. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, For my part, here is my covenant with you. You are to become the father of a multitude of nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be called Abraham, for I am making you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fertile. I will make the nations of you kings will stem from you. I will maintain my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout the ages as an everlasting covenant, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. I will give to you and to your descendants after you the land in which you are now residing as aliens, the whole land of Canaan as a permanent possession, and I will be their God. God said to Abraham, For your part, you and your descendants after you must keep my covenant throughout the ages. This is the covenant between me and you and your descendants after you that you must keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. Circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. That will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout the ages, every male among you, when he is 8 days old, shall be circumcised, including houseborn slaves and those acquired with money from any foreigner who is not of your descendants. Yes, both the houseborn slaves and those acquired with money must be circumcised. Thus my covenant will be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. If a male is uncircumcised, that is, if the flesh of the foreskin has not been cut away, such as one will be cut off from his people, he has broken my covenant. God further said to Abraham, As for Sarai, your wife, do not call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her, and I will give you a son by her. Her also I will bless. She will give rise to nations, and rulers of peoples will issue from her. Abraham fell face down and laughed, and he said to himself, Can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah give birth at 90? So Abraham said to God, If only Ishmael could live in your favor. God replied, Even so, your wife Sarah is to bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. It is with him that I will maintain my covenant as an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. Now as for Ishmael, I will heed you. I hereby bless him. I will make him fertile and will multiply him exceedingly. He will become the father of 12 chieftains, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will maintain with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you by this time next year. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, God departed from him. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael, and all his slaves, whether born in his house or acquired with his money, every male among the members of Abraham's household, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that same day, as God had told him to do. Abraham was 99 years old when the flesh of his foreskin was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13 years old when the flesh of his foreskin was circumcised. Thus, on the same day, Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised, and all the males of his household, including the slaves born in the house of or acquired with his money from foreigners, were circumcised with him. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oak of Mamre, and he sat in the entrance of the tent. While the day was growing hot, looking up, he saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to greet them. and bowing to the ground, he said, "Sir, if it please you, do not go on past your servant. Let some water be brought, that you may bathe your feet, and then rest under the tree. Now that you have come to your servant, let me bring you a little food, that you may refresh yourselves, and afterwards you may go on your way." "Very well," they replied. "Do as you have said." Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, "Quick, 3 messengers of bran flour, knead it and make bread." He ran to the herd, picked out a tender, choice calf, and gave it to a servant, who quickly prepared it. Then he got some curds and milk, as well as the calf that had been prepared, and set these before them, waiting on them under the tree while they ate. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked him. "There in the tent," he replied. One of them said, "I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah will then have a son." And Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, just behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years, and Sarah had stopped having her menstrual periods. So Sarah laughed to herself and said, "Now that I am worn out and my husband is old, am I still to have sexual pleasure?" But the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really bear a child, old as I am?' Is anything too marvelous for the Lord to do? At the appointed time, about this time next year, I will return to you, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah lied, saying, "I did not laugh," because she was afraid. But he said, "Yes, you did." With Abraham walking with them to see them on their way, the men set out from there and looked down toward Sodom. The Lord considered, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Now that he is about to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth are to find blessing in him. Indeed, I have singled him out that he may direct his children and his household in the future to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord may put into effect for Abraham the promises he had made about him." So the Lord said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, and their sins so grave, that I must go down to see whether or not their actions are as bad as the cry against them that comes to me. I mean to find out." As the men turned and walked on towards Sodom, Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham drew near and said, "Will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there were 50 righteous people in the city. Would you really sweep away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people within it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous and the wicked are treated alike. Far be it from you. Should not the judge of all the world do what is just?" The Lord replied, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare it, the whole place, for their sake." Abraham spoke up again, "See how I am presuming to speak to my Lord, though I am only dust and ashes. What if there are 5 less than 50 righteous? Will you destroy the whole city because of those 5? "I will not destroy it," he answered, "if I find 45 there." But Abraham persisted, saying, "What if only 40 are found there?" He replied, "I will refrain from doing it for the sake of the 40. Then he said, "Do not let my Lord be angry if I go on. But what if only 30 men are found there?" He replied, I will refrain from doing it if I can find 30 there. Abraham went on, Since I have thus presumed to speak to my Lord, what if there are no more than 20? I will not destroy it, he answered, for the sake of the 20. But he persisted, Please do not let my Lord be angry if I speak up this last time. What if 10 are found there? For the sake of the 10, he replied, I will not destroy it. The Lord departed as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned home.